Well, we're back. I'm out here working on the heads we're going to be putting on the 55 Chevy Tribute 2-lane blacktop car. And Adam got these on a budget. Now, these are the type of head that don't make a whole lot of power. And you might say, well, why'd you buy them for? Well, out of the box, they don't make a lot of power. But I think we can make them come around to do what we need them to do. So anyway, these are world product heads, and they are aluminum. Now, these aluminum heads, supposedly, they only made for a couple years from what we're being told. Some guys didn't even know they existed. And other guys are saying they're worth some decent money. So we're just trying to use whatever comes our way on a budget. And I forget what he paid for these, but it was budget friendly. My son will probably be doing videos on this and tell you total amounts and things like that. If you haven't seen his channel, my son Adam, he just did a budget thing, his last video, and he doesn't title, it's not titled as a budget, it's titled Going Down the Rabbit Hole, something like that. But it's all stuff where he worked a deal on distributors, water pumps, tunnel rams. Check it out if you haven't seen that, because it might help you out if you're trying to do something on a budget. We'll show you ways to wheel and deal with people. So anyway, back to these. These are the world product heads, and they're not a good head for performance out of the box. I think a standard double hump fuelie head, one of them heads there, would outrun these heads if you did a really good performance job on them. These need, actually, I think, more work than a pair of steel Chevy heads when it comes to all the downfalls. And we're going to show you, I'm doing a few segments on this because there's just too much to tell you about these heads, all the problems they have. So we're just going to take, I think, one step at a time. And the first thing is cleaning the combustion chambers up. And when I say cleaning the combustion chambers up, I'm talking about two things. They have a very lot of dirt and carbon in them, as usual. And the main thing is to make these heads work well as far as performance goes. They're very restricted around the valve area, the seat, and everything needs to be taken care of here first, because if I don't address what goes on in this combustion chamber, then all the rest of the things I do to these heads is all in vain. So let's get to it. Now, what I wanted to point out was this. You might say, well, that doesn't look terrible. And that's only because I've already taken care of the first step here. Two steps. Cleaned it up some. And it had very big ridges here. And there they are. Very deep. So this is not good for flow, and I don't think it's going to come off on camera here as crucial as it really is, and we'll say real life. So these are things here. This is one of them problems that you have on a lot of cylinder heads, machining ridges or edges, whatever you want to refer to them as. But this is not good for performance. So that's what we're doing. We're taking care of this first, more so than the porting. So to kind of give you an idea, it's not just the ridge either. Back in here, you can see how it's machined. It goes deep and then up. So we're going to blend all that in too. Now here's one thing to think about. Anytime you take metal out of the combustion chamber, you're going to lose a little bit of compression. So you don't want to take any more out of the combustion chamber. Take as little as possible. But if you don't make the combustion chamber efficient and let the air flow around the seat area and blend everything in the way that it needs to be as far as airflow goes, then you're defeating your purpose when it comes to porting cylinder heads. I always said it has to start here. Whatever the air does here is always the most important. Without getting the air to move around these valves, then the rest of the head can't do its job. I mean, your intake charge, let's say you do the port up, you have a really nice port done up, and then the bowl area is kind of crappy, and then it's crappy here. Well, that port that you did isn't really going to help a whole lot when it comes to all these other bad areas in the bowl, as far as the guide and imperfections off to the side here and things like that. That's a later on video, all this stuff, but that's to make a point here. So there we have this area here that I say is very bad. I think it's a big downfall on these heads, and on any head. If you have machining areas like this here, then it's never going to be a very good performance advantage when you port a pair of heads, like I said, if you don't address these areas. Sorry guys, I'm getting distracted here by a few things. Getting bit by mosquitoes as I speak here. But this is more of an example of what we're going to want. This is probably 80% finished. And as you can see, it's all rounded in, all tapered in around the plug area for the most part, and angled back here compared to a very sharp edge. That's what I do. I angle it back, and some guys leave that as a high peak, and they say that's to help reversion. I worry about the air going out more than I do the reversion. That's just how I look at it. But that's what makes the world tick. Everybody has different views and ways of doing this stuff. This is just my way, and all these other guys have different methods and things that they do. This is what I do. So like I said, this is going to be mostly 50%, I would say. The problem is around these valves. So that is a very big hindrance to me, and we're cutting it back. Now all you want to do is you'll just cut the rig down. You don't really want to dig, you just want to keep it consistent and cut it down and stay right on top of it. I'm going to try to demonstrate this with one hand here, and that's a little dangerous because I have no valve in here protecting the seat here, so we'll see how this goes. If you notice, I left the combustion chamber a tiny bit on the dark side with it's not cleaned up all the way, and that's because that helps me see that I'm not over compensating. That gives me like a shadow right there. And when it blends in, I can almost tell that it's blended in where I want it to be, so I don't dig at it. very easy to go over kill when you're doing performance work like this. It's very easy to make a mistake, especially when you're using an aggressive bit. So you can do this with a sanding roll or any other method you have. If you're a guy that's just trying to do this for the first time, you'd want to put a valve in here to protect it, and you could even use this here sanding roll. You could actually use this to do the same thing. You can use grinding stones, but the thing is, if you use something like this here and you happen to run up over your seat, it's not going to murder it. It might scar it up, but you'll still be able to use a lapping compound in most cases to correct it. And that's another thing here. You see how dirty these are? Well, if I slip, all it's going to do is maybe clean it up a little bit. It's not going to scar the seat. So that's something to keep in mind for those guys that say he don't have that very clean look in there. Well, sometimes when it looks unprofessional, there's a reason behind it. It's not all about guys doing things in the backyard and they don't have stuff cleaned up perfect all the time. This is intentional when it comes to this right here. It's like I said, it helps protect it for right now. I'm not doing this with valves in here, and I have nothing to protect the seats with right now. So that to me is a safety feature a little bit. So anyway, back to this for a second. You want to take your time doing this too. I'm trying to do this on a little speed here for you guys, but really I should just take my time and kind of let the camera just do whatever. I'm always trying to do things to make a point and show you guys, and do it in a somewhat of a fast fashion here, but one mistake here can cost me money back at the machine shop. And if you notice, I keep it moving. I don't stay in one spot. Let the bit do its work. I'm not pushing down real hard. Get the metal out of the way so you can see what you're doing. And as you can see, there's going to be a high spot here. And you're just going to level it back in. Like I said, by this being a little bit dirty in the combustion chamber, it helps me see these spots. You see the high spot here, right there. So when I level that in, these dark spots will go away. Now what you want to do is just taper it in, and then you can actually switch over to a sanding roll like this that's less aggressive. That way you're not taking more metal than you have to, and it will blend things in once you get it all roughed in. So, or you could do the whole thing with a sanding roll, but that'll just take you longer. But if you're an amateur and you've never done this before, the sanding roll, I always recommend that. A sanding roll, you should wear a mask because this gets in the air, and if you're not in a well ventilated place, you don't want to be inhaling that in. I don't wear a mask because I'm outside and it fogs my glasses up when I wear anything, a respirator or anything over my face. But I don't want to recommend that to anybody else. I will say, on an average basis with doing this kind of work, you have tendency to see a high spot, and you'll want to have tendency to stay there and let that bit just get that spot and gnaw at it. Don't do it. Just keep moving and taper it in. It doesn't take long on aluminum. If you keep that bit right there, you will have a low spot. Not bad for one hand, right guys? See, one hand. Hey Mom, look at me. Remember that old joke, guys? Riding a bicycle. Hey Mom, look at me. One hand. Hey, that's good, son. Look at me, Mom. No hands. Oh, look at that, son. Hey, look at me, Mom. No teeth. Yeah, remember that joke, guys? And what I'll do here is I'll take that ridge right back here and angle it back right into the plug area. Sorry guys, I wasn't looking through the camera. I didn't know I was off on that, but it's hard to do this. I don't have a tripod here. I have nobody to help me with the camera. And I'm not like most people that have somebody zooming in and zooming out. This is just me, fellas. It's do or die. I try to give a little information and show the basics. And even with all my blunders, you might pick up that much of information or an idea for what you're doing. And this goes for any cylinder head. If you have machining ridges and anything around the seat area, it all has to be blended in nice. If there's sharp edges, it's bad for detonation, bad for flow. So that's what you want to keep in mind. You don't want to hog the combustion chamber out, but I will say this: if a combustion chamber has a lot of angles and like little dips and stuff, the smoother you can make that and contour that in without destroying the combustion chamber. If you got to start digging at it too much, then you don't want to do that. But if you can shape it in and taper it in where it's as round as possible, as smooth as possible, and as flat as possible where it's flat, then that's where you're going to pick up the most gains, in my opinion. And no, I don't need to watch anybody else on YouTube. I always have some wonderful guys that suggest certain people to me. I don't need to watch them guys because I do what I do and the cars run fine. They really do. As a matter of fact, without sounding arrogant, our cars have done what their cars haven't done, and these are the guys you guys watch that talk a good game. I'll put it to you that way. I go by what people have out there on the racetrack. I could sit here and tell you guys I got a head to flow 400 CFMs and show you numbers, and you'd believe it. Most people would. because you believe in me. And it's an easy thing to do, but I'd rather show you a vehicle up and running and prove what I did to the cylinder head worked on a running vehicle. And that's why I like showing low budget stuff. It's easy to take a head that should run 7s or 8s in the quarter mile and have the car run that if you do the rest of the combination right. So if you take a head that's not supposed to make any power and you're running 9s with a stock production head, that usually shows you something. I've had 2 of the major guys on YouTube put digs at me, and they said that doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove you're a good head porter if just because you have a fast car. If that doesn't prove anything, then what does? Because they're head porters and they swear what they do works and show you all these tricks, and meanwhile the 2 major guys I'm talking about, they both have 11-second cars that they've showed on their channel, and it took one guy forever to get this other vehicle into the 10s on alcohol. And I'm talking about these vehicles should run 10s. I'll put it to you this way: we have the same stuff running 10s and 9s to what they run 11s with, and that's not an arrogant thing. If the truth hurts, so be it. People tell me I shouldn't say them kind of statements, but if it's the truth, why not? Especially when I have guys telling me, you need to watch this other fella. Well, I don't, and I'm not being arrogant when I say it. It's just like I said, I know what they do. I know what they say. I know their flow test results. I see all the little things they do to the head, and I always see other things that they do to the head that I would do differently, and that I'd also do more in certain areas too. And I see a lot of these guys do too much to the short turn, and then that's where their problem lies. And when they have a truck that won't run barely 10s, that they got to switch to twin turbos and all the other nonsense. I don't want to put anybody else down, but this is just to give you an example, the kind of stuff I hear. And it's like a smack in the face when you have somebody say, you need to watch this guy, and then the guy's not even done with aftermarket cylinder heads he has with 12.5 to 1 compression, full-blown race, and then he says on his channel he got upset because he heard me make a video like this before, kind of. The truth hurts. That doesn't prove anything. That doesn't prove you're a good head porter. Well, it proves you're not a very good head porter when that's what you do for a living and your vehicle falls off in second gear because you have the short turn cut back too much. I know what's wrong with their stuff more than they do in a lot of cases, and that's not an ego thing. That's just it's an experience thing. But they should have more experience than what I have in the backyard here and be able to outrun this. So I hope that doesn't sound too arrogant. It's just the truth. And I've had probably 1, 2, 3, what's after 3? 4, John, 5. I've had like 5 friends. Yeah, I got 5 friends. I do. I've made it that far. I'm up to 5 friends. But anyway, I've had 5 people, counting my family, don't say anything derogatory. And I said, if the truth is the truth, I should be able to say it. And that's what's wrong with today's society. You can't speak the truth. And I try not to offend anybody or say anything to put somebody else down when I speak the truth, but sometimes when they put it out there, if you just repeat what they've said or something they put out there themselves on YouTube, then I should be able to respond to it. Just my way of thinking. But anyway, I like everybody. I try to. Well, I love everybody. I don't like everybody. I gotta be godly. I don't want no bad to happen to anybody. That's what I mean by that. So yeah, there are some people I don't care for. Terry's only human here, fellas. But I gotta be the way God wants me to be. I will say that. So I don't hate anybody. I don't know how I got off on this ramble, but that's my old thinking here. So anyway, guys, that would give you an idea what I'm going through with these heads here. They need a lot more work than this. The bowl area, I'm going to be covering that. And I'm going to show what I can here on YouTube. But the problem I have, I actually need to get these heads done and back to my son. And it's hard for me to do videos on it because every time I do videos, I have to stop actual work and try to show you at least somewhat of an idea what I do. Believe me, it's better with two hands, guys. When I show you something on here and you see the old thing slipping off of there, that's not what you want when you're around a seat area with no valve in there or anything protecting it. So anyway, guys, with that, I want to say thanks for watching. Hope I'm not too harsh, and I always want to say God bless you. I'm getting mosquitoes around me out here. I gotta finish up here and get back in the house. Yep, they're out. Have a good one, everybody, and thanks again. God bless you.